It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Because we have this upcoming event, the Weaving Patterns event. Weaving Patterns. One of the most common questions that I've been getting lately is which flag should you invest in, and which patterns should you level up first? Now, I actually believe that the War Flag of Decline is the most beneficial general purpose flag. Enemy healing reduction minus 10% doesn't work all the time because some teams don't have healing on them. The pet buff 10% only increases the team pet's effectiveness, which isn't that impactful. I think this is the worst of the three. And the War Flag of Fervor increase energy gain for tanks by 10%. I don't use tanks 100% of the time. So if I were to put my patterns onto here, it would be very expensive to pull them off to move them around. So in my opinion, the best flag, general purpose, is this one right here. The decreases enemy team's healing by 10%. So then the next step is which patterns to use. I think that the number one pattern you should use is armor. All right, I think armor 100% is the play. Getting these, got the violet there. Really burning through these patterns now, though, baby. Really burning through it. There are so many Dante teams. There are so many Ishmael teams. There are so many Kark teams. There are so many Isaac teams. I think armor is the number one pattern. By far, I think it is. I don't know how much it actually matters, to be honest with you, but I do think that of all of the patterns that are available, it has the most potential to impact the fights because of the amount of armor that it gives you. So this one right here increases armor for the entire team by 9.5%. 10%, let's just round to 10%. That gives Kark at max 10% of 38,000 is an extra 3,800 armor. And for those of you that know the way the armor works, 3,000 armor is 50% damage reduction. Okay, so that by itself is significant. It's significant. Samuel, I'm not even gonna do it. I don't think that it's that impactful. I can be convinced, and I'm gonna have to do some math. I don't know that it is. I don't know that 10% is that impactful. I do agree that 10% is something. Distributing more damage, sure. And the other thing that you mentioned was chorus. I mean, that's not a lot. How much does that really impact chorus? Anyway, my hypothetical is that the War Flag of Decline blocking health, I think it's just generally more valuable. I just don't see Pet Flag is only going to be good if your pets are very high level, but for mid, yeah. So Steven brings up a good point it's worth mentioning. And Samuel, I'm not saying that you're wrong. This is my opinion. This is 100% my opinion. I'm not saying that you're wrong. It could be impactful. It absolutely could. So Pet Flag is only going to be good if your pets are very high level, but for mid game players with lower level pets, it won't be as effective. My big concern overall with the flag and pattern system is that it's built for lower level to mid-level players. The high-end players, the flags aren't impacting fights that much. They're just not. The flags, even with 3 orange patterns or 3 red patterns, they're not really affecting the outcome of the fights. It doesn't feel like they're really changing things that much. And a lot of people feel like that the flags and patterns were introduced as a way to give lower level players an opportunity to get an extra step up to compete at those higher end. 753, 550, that would roughly be the total for Axles. There's no way it's an extra 200,000. Or I guess it's only 70,000. Okay, that's more plausible. Anyway, the first pattern that I think that everybody should care about is the armor pattern. And again, the main reason for that is because of the prevalence of Dante and Ishmael. Which, by the way, I think I'm seeing Ishmael a lot more than Dante now. Honestly, I feel like I'm seeing Ishmael a ton lately, and I'm basically out. I'm basically out now. Like, I don't have enough to get to that red tier, right? But that's 12.5%. You know, like I said, 10% is 50% damage reduction, right? So many physical damage dealers, I agree. The difference between penetration and armor is so small that 10% is a lot. I don't disagree with you. I think that that's incredible. I think the armor is incredible. Now, the next logical thing, if I'm building a flag to counter physical damage dealers, which is the first step that I've taken, what kind of team do you bring against... What kind of team do you bring against physical attackers often? What kind of team do you usually bring to combat Dante, Ishmael, Kark? You bring magic damage dealers. Okay, now I'm not going to tell you to do magic. Samuel's one step ahead of me. I think that the flag patterns that I'm going to level up are going to be armor for the first one, all right? The second one is going to be magic attack, right? And the third one, I think it can kind of go a couple of different directions, but I feel like dodge is the play. I feel like the dodge counter is the play. These three patterns are the ones that I'm going to be personally leveling up first. I bring a lot of Heidi. I bring a lot of Amira, Arachne, Maya. Iris is physical damage mostly. She would benefit more from like an armor penetration artifact, right? Or a pattern, I should say. Conversely, if you are building a physical team, you should level up your physical attack patterns. I think it's less good on my server, full of Ishmaels and Dantes. I think it's less good. But at the same time, we see a lot of teams that are not Ishmael and Dante, right? We see a lot of teams that I would love to bring my Kark to, you know, tentacle people to death with. In those instances, maybe you bring the physical attack pattern instead of the magic attack pattern. And you know what? With the decline of Dante, the next pattern that I would probably suggest would be magic defense. That's what I think. I think magic defense would be the third pattern if you start seeing so many Dantes. I think magic defense is the third pattern. That's my opinion. That's my opinion, guys. Yeah, there was an orange pattern on the last map, on the February map, but not on this one. So, I am interested to hear arguments and counter arguments. I am intrigued by Samuel's point about the usefulness of the pet flag. I think that all three flags, the flag themselves, kind of low value. I see the value in reducing enemy healing by 10%. I see the value in 10% faster energy gain for tanks. I see the value in the 10% pet skill power buff. I see the value there. I just don't think that that's where the power of this system lies. If the power in this system even exists, right? 3 flags, 1 offensive, 1 defensive, 1 balanced. Yeah, I agree, Alreza, but it's expensive. It's expensive to build 3 flags. So I say build 1 flag that you can use in almost every team. If you don't have a tank, then the tank flag is useless. If you're not relying on your pet's team ability to keep you alive or to win the fight or whatever, then the pet flag is less good. I think the healing reduction, I think, is the first one you should focus on. Aurora with tank flag actually is kind of crazy. I bet it's insane. I do. Between Kane flag and dodging big damage, that's why I had initially jumped everything into the war flag of fervor. But I don't use a tank every time. Most of the time, I do use a tank. And if you never use non-tank heroes, like I tank with Kark all the time, I tank with Arachne all the time, I tank with Morgan all the time. There's a ton of people that tank with Dante all the time. There's a ton of people that tank with Ishmael and Yasmin all the time, right? Those aren't Isaac. People tank with Isaac all the time. The tank energy gain doesn't work for those teams. So that's what I think. And again, opinion, not an expert. I'm an enthusiast. So there's a good chance that I'm going to blow up all of my physical attack patterns. I might just break all of these down. And by the way, you break them down into golden thread by going to your inventory. Patterns. There's a pattern tab right here. Oh my goodness. And then, for example, we'll do physical attack, and then you unravel, you get 150. You can unravel as many as you want. We're just going to unravel 1, for show and tell. That's how you do it. That's how you get golden thread. That's how a lot of players already have 3 orange patterns, is because they're basically unraveling all of their other patterns. It's basically what they're doing. How many emeralds do they charge to remove a flag at orange? It's 1,000, Cab. 1,000 emeralds at orange level. I don't have a red flag to tell you. It's 1,000 emeralds.